Welcome to part 2 with Annalee Kruger, and let's get started on finishing up on how to manage the family dynamics and how to make a plan so things don't happen in urgency as we or our loved ones age. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy.
So why doesn't it just make more sense to put a plan in place?
Yeah.
Figure out, okay, if mom and dad need care, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start touring these care communities. We're going to get on the waiting list. We're going to get our grab and go binder done. We're going to get all the accounts, the passwords, funeral arrangements, legal documents in order, business succession plan if mom and dad still have a business, or if they have a pet, what's the plan for the pet? But like I said, this process that we take families through, it's for the kids too. They need to get their grab and go binder done. They need to get their living will, their power of attorney. There's no set age of when you should get all this stuff done. You should do it now because you never know. Like all the people who had a major stroke last Thursday, young or old, didn't wake up thinking, oh, I think I'm going to have a major stroke. All the people just trying to get home from work who got hit on the interstate and now are in the hospital and might not be doing great. None of them ever thought that they'd have this issue just trying to get back home from work, right? Yeah, but it happens to literally thousands of families. I was hit by a school bus as a pedestrian.
Oh my gosh.
4 days after my 40th birthday, I had just returned from China from doing a keynote speaking engagement for a healthcare conference. I was in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and it was over the noon hour. I was walking down the main street and saw this little gentleman who was moving pretty slow. And I'm like, hi, how are you? My name is Annalee. Do you need help? And he's like, I just need some help to cross the street. I just had some heart stents put in a few months ago, and I'm having a slow recovery. And I was like, well, are you sure you could, do you want me to call 911? He's like, no. I'm like, oh.
That doesn't sound good at all.
No, looking good at all. Like, I'm not a nurse, but I know when people don't look good.
Yeah.
and so he's like, no, I just need to get across the street because my wife is waiting for me in the car. And I'm like, okay. So I walk, we're at the crosswalk at the intersection. The little green legs tell us that we can go. And so he's still telling me about his medical issues. And all of a sudden he yells, watch out. And the next thing I know, I'm getting up off the street. A school bus driver was distracted by the 29 kids on the bus, and she blew through a four-corner stop. So instead of looking through the windshield, she was looking up in that mirror, looking inside the bus, probably yelling at them to probably shut up and sit down.
Yeah, probably.
I would do if I was a bus driver. That's why I'm not a bus driver.
Yeah.
Give me 9,000 demented elderly people versus 4 toddlers.
4 young kids on a bus.
Yeah, no, I know my niche. So anyway, she hit me. She told the police. She said, I just didn't see her. I didn't apply the brakes until I saw her face break the headlight of the school bus. And that's exactly what happened. That's why this is all titanium. I had broken ribs, internal bleeding. I was not in a
She
good
hit
way.
you hard. That wasn't a bump.
I flew apparently 15 feet. I get up off the street and I'm like, what the heck just happened here? And thank God I carry a backpack usually as a purse, like a purse backpack. And I carry way too much crap in there, but that's what I think
probably saved you.
For once it saved my life that I carry way too much crap in there because that's what prevented my head from hitting the curb when I flew. And so I was more like a kind of a turtle. And thank God, because that's what prevented me from having neck injury and brain injury.
Wow.
And so I get up off the street and I'm like, what the heck? And so I walk and there's all this broken glass and reflectors on the street. And I'm like, what the heck just happened there? And I'm like, that wasn't there. And then I look up further, and the bus is parked all crooked across the street. And I'm like, holy crap, I think I got hit by a school bus. Well, by then, all these witnesses came running out of the stores, because it was over the noon hour.
Sure.
And they're all running out of these stores, and they're like, oh my God, you just got hit by a school bus. I can't believe you got up and you just flew 15 feet. We've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, holy cow. And so I practice what I preach. I don't carry my grab and go with me, obviously, because you're not going to carry around your passwords and your retirement account information and all that kind of stuff. But I do carry my DNR, my do not resuscitate. I carry my living will and my healthcare power of attorney. And like my emergency contact, because my entire life has been spent
dealing with this.
Dealing with it. And I'm like, and so I don't want to feel vulnerable if I ever can't speak. I want to make sure that I don't end up with a trach and all sorts of crap in me, because I don't want any of that. And so I carry those documents with me. And so when I get up off the street and all these people were running out, I'm like, I don't know if I have a brain bleed. I don't know what's going on with me for sure, but I know that I'm alert and oriented and cognizant right now. So all these witnesses, I'm like, I gave everybody something to remember in case I lost consciousness. So I'm like, my name is Annalee Kruger. Here's my birthday. I'm a do not resuscitate. I'm allergic to penicillin. And, thank God they weren't like scammers, because they could have totally just like...
We're good citizens. The good citizens of Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin did not scam me after hearing all of like the information. All I needed was like 3 of the 15 pieces of information. I could have totally hacked my account, but thank God for the people of Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
That's right.
Shout out. And so I give everybody something to remember, because I'm still like, I don't know if I'm going to have a brain bleed, because you can be okay and then all of a sudden not. Like all of a sudden not.
I mean, right?
And so I sit down on the curb and I'm like, okay, I think my work is done. And I'm doing like my neuro check, and I'm like, because I've been healthcare my whole life. So I'm doing my little neuro check. And
it's crazy that you just started doing that to yourself.
I'm doing like my fingers. I'm like wiggling my toes. I'm like doing my own little memory
paralyzed.
Exam. I'm doing like my own little memory exam. I'm like, okay, thank God. So far, so good. And so I sit down on the curb, and this nice guy, and I wish I knew who he was, but nice guy, trying to be super helpful and comforting. He sits down next to me on the curb, because now we're waiting for the paramedics. And he puts his arm around me, and he's like, wow, I didn't know a face could be so sunk in. And I was like, wait, what? Because I've been running on adrenaline this whole time, right? And so I made the mistake of like putting my hand up. Yeah, and it went all the way through. And I'm just like, oh, because there is something to this whole adrenaline thing. Like when you're in a crisis, your body just like your body and your mind can just kick in and do what it needs to do to get through that. But then when you can breathe, then you're like, and so my face, my hand went all the way through, because my face broke the headlight of the school bus. It's a good thing I'm 5'11" and like an Iowa farm girl, because if I was this tiny little waif of a thing, it would have like I would have been like flown over the bus probably. And so, but being under it is not good either. I can promise you that. But anyway, my point in all of this is I didn't expect at 40 years old, 4 days after my 40th birthday, to now need care. Especially when you're this independent career woman, and now you can't open your mouth because you got everything is broken. So I ended up having to go back to Iowa on the farm with my parents, because I needed care, because I couldn't drive. I needed to have multiple facial reconstruction surgeries, the broken ribs. Like I was not in a good way. Yeah. My business was only 1 year old. And so thank God I was already virtual. And because I also had my grab and go binder, I have my business succession plan. I have a roster of my employees, and my brother and my sister are my power of attorneys, because I don't have kids. And so because I have family meetings with them every year about where things at with my business, here's the new roster of my employees, so that if something does happen to me, they can do what they need to with the business, right? And contact my employees, contact my clients, and be like, because that's what they had to do last time. They're like, hey, Annalee was in a major accident. She's going to be laid up for a while. And people are good, right? And so they're like, oh my God, because I have all these clients that were like mid planning, right? Sure. And so thankfully though, because I was virtual already, I could help them virtually from Iowa on Skype, just not my typical 12 or 14 hour days, because I had a broken face. But I could at least still like help them and guide them and stuff like that. So my point in all of this is emergency preparedness. You know, we need to start normalizing these aging or crisis conversations instead of shying away from it. You know, I had someone tell me one time that he's like, oh, I was a keynote, and he's like, oh, everybody else was like so positive about it. They're like, wow, this was like so impactful and so helpful. And you gave me like 30 nuggets of things that we need to do with our own family to get our, you know, stuff in order. But I had you know how stupid it is when you get all this like positive feedback, but then one person gives you all this like, oh, your whole presentation was doom and gloom.
And then that's all, and then you internalize that like, one negative thing.
Even though I had like 600 people in the audience, one person said that, like, why do we do that as people? But anyway, I was
we
like,
do.
well, actually, it's not doom and gloom. This is real life stuff. Like, you have to stop living with your head in the sand, because this is real life stuff. And I promise you, if we put this aging plan, or at least work together to help you make informed decisions, you know, because if they don't want to plan, that's fine. Because sometimes they don't have the emotional bandwidth to like put this like robust plan together. Although they don't have to do the work. That we're doing the work. I just need them to answer.
I need to know what you want. And I need, you know,
we put the plan together, and then we were like, here's what you talked about, and here's kind of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of what needs to be done to put this thing together. But, you know, sometimes families are just like, can we just do hourly consulting with you? And it's like, of course. So we have different services and solutions for literally every budget. But the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you're not in this journey alone, because that's what every family caregiver feels like. You're in. That's why with my book, the cover is this lonely bench.
That's what you feel like.
Because you feel like you're alone, and you feel like you're never doing enough, even though as a caregiver, whether you're a spouse or an adult kid, we bend over backwards. We derail our own lives, our own health, our own careers, our own marriages or relationships to meet the needs of the person that we're taking care of. Right? But it's not sustainable, and then that only is going to generate anger, resentment, overwhelm, and at some point your body is going to be like, you're going to have anxiety, depression, insomnia, or want to sleep all the time. Your weight's going to change. Your friends are going to be like, hey, we never get to see you anymore. Well, because you're in this caregiver snowball, and all it does is just get bigger and bigger and more stressful. And when families are like, oh, we're doing okay for now, well, that's great. But what about when you're not?
It's that for now that makes me go, we're all doing fine for now.
Yeah. That's the time,
and that's part of it too. So, you know, as somebody is listening right now, right? And what should they be thinking that makes them pick up the phone and call you? What is the one thing that may be flitting across their brain as they listen to this that says, I need an Annalee in my life?
So usually what their response is when someone calls from a podcast or a speaking engagement is, this is usually how it starts out. I heard you on podcast XYZ, and it sounded like you were just speaking to me. Everything you said is something I'm either going through or know that I'm going to go through if we don't figure out what to do. You know, if we don't do anything now, then in 6 months from now, you're just going to be that much more burned out and angry and resentful as a caregiver. Your loved one is going to be 6 months more ill, debilitated, and demented, which is going to require more care and supervision and more money.
We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's WA1h.org.
And so that's usually if this hit home for you at all, the grab and go binder, getting your affairs in order, that piece of it, if that hit home, excellent. Reach out to us on carerightinc.com. You can actually buy the grab and go, just the checklist, like right off the website. But if this hit home for you, and you're a caregiver, or your loved one has dementia, or you're the Ethel and the Marvin, and you're like, wow, I don't want to leave a shit show for my kids. Still, same thing. Reach out to the Care Right Inc. website. Let's talk. I offer a 30-minute free consult. Just no pressure. Just, what's going on in your life, and here's how I can help you. Here's how much it's going to cost. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can get my book, The Invisible Patient. You can get that on Amazon, or you can, contact me, and we can get, take care of that for you too. But if this hit home for you, because something that we talked about is going to hit home with everybody, because I have to admit, I built the most referable business, right? Everybody is aging. Everyone is at some point going to become a family caregiver. Everyone knows someone in the dementia journey, and we're all going to need care. So, and we all need to have our affairs in order. So doesn't it just make sense? Let's do it. Let's get this robust plan built out, so at least you've got that peace of mind and you can get back to your life.
And can I just say, just because you make a plan today doesn't mean that plan can't change.
Correct.
And, so a plan is not, it's not engraved in stone, never to adjust no matter what happens. Right. And so if you have that, even the most basic of a plan, so that when a situation changes, do you move closer or further away? Does one spouse, so now one spouse has passed away, so that whole two-person thing is changing now. So it's changeable. It's changeable.
And that's just it. And that's why the aging plan solves for all of that. It covers, so I always advise my clients, and the reason we do the care matrix is because then everything is a side-by-side comparison. Here's home care companies that are taking patients, because some of them aren't.
Right.
And, and then here's the different care communities, waiting lists, all of that information. And we rule out, for us to even outline 5 to 8 different care communities, we have to usually rule out 10 to 20 care facilities because they've been cited for abuse and neglect. Or they have a 5-year waiting list and mom needed care a year ago. Or they don't offer memory care, and that's what mom needs.
And that's coming.
And that care matrix that's why I started my company, is because families didn't know how to navigate any of that. And that way it saves the family from blindly and randomly touring care facilities to then find out, oh, mom can't afford the one that's in the area, or the one that has an opening has been cited for abuse the last 4 years. So what do? That's why, when we build out the plan, just like with a financial planner, you can pay the financial planner to just put the financial plan in place. Although this is not a software program where they just plunk in numbers and be like, oh, here's your financial plan. Not to totally minimize it, but they use software, and it's not anything involving like what we do. And so most families hire us to put this aging plan in place, or a crisis plan. It's usually a crisis plan, which is the same thing as an aging plan, but much more condensed.
Yeah, I was going to say moving faster.
Now we have to rush. And it's going to not be convenient for anybody because it's
going to be harder. It's just going to be harder.
And it's going to be much more emotional because you waited. Or the change happened very quickly. But then most families stay on our monthly retainer care packages. So it's like, okay, here's the 17 things that need to be done from the course of our family meetings, and to put this plan in place, there's 17 recommendations. And who's going to implement it? And the families are really overwhelmed because they were overwhelmed to start with, right?
Right.
And so they're like, oh, can't you just help us with that? And so that's when then I break it down into smaller chunks. I'm like, okay, we need to get the grab and go binder started because your dad's losing capacity by the week because of dementia, and he's the one that has all this data,
and it's all up here, and that's he's
not going to be able to get that out. So we got to start with that, and we got to start doing home care, get home care started in there. We need to also start doing some tours of these care facilities and get on the waiting list of 2 or 3 or 4 of them, so that when things change at home and the facility calls you, you can say, this is great timing. We're really struggling at home with home care. The caregivers don't show up, or mom's running out of money, and So this way that plan solves for if Marvin dies and Ethel is still living, or it solves for that. But then, like I said, most families stay on our month-to-month retainer packages so that when things change,
they have somebody to call to help them through the change.
well, and we provide ongoing family meetings and family mediation. And yesterday I worked with another family, well, 4 families yesterday, like every day, about just understanding dementia. Because what happens is, doctors are notorious for like, oh, you have mild cognitive impairment. Your dad has mild cognitive impairment. Good luck to you. and that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
And and so that's why everything that we do is white glove approach, because no one is helping these families understand it. And even in our healthcare industry, like you said, you had this whole like kind of Rolodex of people in the industry, but no one is doing like comprehensive planning. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't have to go to 20 different people. And the reality is we've had so much turnover since the pandemic that I don't know anybody who has any kind of actual length of professional experience because even in the healthcare industry they tend to work in silos, and they do. So when families work with us, they get a lot of bang for their buck, because I used to do all of Iowa dementia training and Wisconsin dementia training. Like, they get a lot of bang for their buck because family mediator, social worker, expert in senior care, expert in dementia, and expert in end of life. I spent a lot of my Thanksgiving week and weekend helping a few families understand what to expect as their loved one passes away. Yeah. And how to say goodbye and how to keep her comfortable, and how to play music and pray together. So I coach families through literally from the start of working together until their parents pass away.
Wow. See, I knew we were going to take a long time.
I knew. That's the thing. That's why I always say Google will only get you so far, and Neighbor Joe, because there's so many nuances.
And I think people don't know you exist, right? They don't know problem. that they're. I mean, and I don't know how many. Not just how many Annalees are out there, but how many people that even do anything remotely like what you do.
There aren't. That's why my business insurance is so expensive for me, because there's no one doing what I do. And we are not a placement company. We're not that. We are family caregiver consultants. We get paid for our services by the family. But there's companies out there that do kind of bits and pieces, but there's nobody that does all of it. And when you work with companies that do bits and pieces, that's when you get disjointed information and disjointed planning, because no one knows all of this, whereas I'm like that one-stop shop. And because we are fee for service for the families, that means that everything that we do is for the client's best interest. There's no that's the thing about placement companies. There's no kickback, there's no commission, there's no that's how they get paid. Right. And it's a transaction. There's no care advocacy, no family meetings, no planning. It's just, who has an open bed? Because I have Ethel, she needs placement, and boom, you move to the next one. But there's no anything else that they provide. And so you just, as a consumer, you just need to be careful and cautious. And if you are interviewing, there's a lot of senior experts that claim to be a senior expert, and they are not. So these are the questions to ask. What is your actual experience, professional experience? Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing it? How do you get paid? How would you handle my situation? Like, how would you help my family? And go through exactly what's going on with your family. And if they don't know how to do family mediation, if they don't understand dementia, because there's a lot of folks kind of trying to get into the senior space, and they're causing harm. They're causing harm to these families because they don't know dementia. They don't know how to navigate senior care. They don't know how to do family meetings, and they are causing harm. And so you need to be a very conscientious consumer. And if you're, if everything that I said rings home, but you're like, I don't know if I want to work with her. She sounds like she knows what she's doing, but if for whatever reason you're like, I'm going to try to find someone else, you need to be a very educated consumer, because there's a lot of people leaving their industries or trying to tack into or trying to encroach into senior consulting space, and they just, I can't undo incompetent people have done.
Well,
just
people see, unfortunately, people, when they see a trend, they see the cash cow and they say, and even in my industry, right? So I've been a realtor since 2008.
Yeah.
And I know when mom calls me and says, I think it's time to sell my house or whatever that is, I know that it may not be this week we're going to list that house. It may be 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And there are real estate agents out there, and, we all throw our own industry under the bus sometimes. But they're just say, okay, well, wait till when it's cleaned out, call me. Yeah. And they don't help these folks, and then and they don't have an adult child nearby. They may not have a child. They don't have somebody to help them through this. Mm-hmm. And it's not just in real estate or in placement, or there's just so many people that are jumping on this senior bandwagon because they see it as so lucrative, and they're forgetting that there are human beings involved.
Right.
And you can do great damage to somebody if you put them in the wrong senior community, or you don't handle their move appropriately, or any number of different things. You could do such great harm. And I just want people to know that and know what you know. I know what I know, but I also know a lot of people like yourself that know so much more than me that I can now say, you know what? That's a little out of my purview. Call Annalee, right? Because I know what I know.
Except that people, if you just direct them to my website, they won't call, right? So for those listening, like if you're like, wow, I like what Annalee had to say and I want to like potentially work with her, or if you're an advisor or someone who's trying to do this type of work, but you're not trained to do it, doing an email introduction, or go to my website and say, hey, Annalee, I was meeting with client ABC and here's their contact information. Because I promise you, if you're working with an overwhelmed family, you're just only giving them one more
thing to do. One more thing to do.
You're just giving them one more thing to do, and then that's incompetent. Like that's not helping families. That's hurting families. So just for those listening or watching, just be so careful, because there's just so many people that are now trying to claim that they're an aging expert or you just have to be careful, because you are a very
ask the right questions.
Risk.
Ask the right questions, and if something feels off, it probably is.
Correct. That's age old good advice.
Yep. Go with your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. So.
Correct.
All right. Well, Annalee, I know you have to run. I want to thank you so much. We are going to have all of her contact information, access to her book, her website, all her grab and go stuff that she has, all of that will be in the show notes. So I want to make sure that you go there, just wherever you're finding your podcast and listening to this, all that information will be there. So please access that. Reach out whatever way, if we can help you, reach out to Annalee, whatever works. Get in touch with somebody and start making this plan today. You're going to be spending some time. We're at the holidays at the time of this recording. You will probably be spending some time with family members. What a great opportunity to ask some simple questions and maybe just be a little bit more aware of what might be going on in the family.
Well, and leverage this podcast, because that's the biggest question I get is, what age should we be when we start doing all this like planning and grab and go and like have
yesterday? But how old are you? How old are you now? Right now?
But then the other like today years old.
Yeah.
But then the other question is always like, Annalee, this sounds great, but how do we broach these conversations to our family when we may have already tried it before and we got shut down? Leverage this podcast and say, listen to this podcast, right? Like send them this podcast link and say, look, I don't want to be one of those statistics that Annalee talks about where the family is left in fear and overwhelm and crisis. Like, leverage this podcast, or if there was just a recent fall or a recent urinary tract infection or a recent weight loss or hospitalization, leverage that and say, look, we got through that, but there's going to be more of those. So now at least let's be prepared. Let's put a plan in place.
Yeah. Perfect.
Got it. That's a great
All right.
closure.
There it is.
All right. Well,
All right. Well,
Robin,
Annalee, thank you so much. I so appreciate your time today. This was, there's just so much. There's so much, and we could go on for days and days.
We could. But I think we hit it pretty hard today, and hopefully the listeners, it wakes them up a bit, and we'll help spread the word with this podcast too, because Robin, you're doing great work. You're doing amazing, great work. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you folks for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. So much information out there. So make sure you subscribe and share this podcast, because there, again, so much out there to learn so that we can plan and just have everything as it should be, as we want it to be. So
that's right.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for Relax, I Got This with Texas Realtor Robin McCoy. Check out all the show notes for contact information on Robin and her guests, and to access your free buyer and seller guides. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This with Robin McCoy.